Aaron Smith, what's up, bro? How are you?
I'm doing well, man. How you doing today?
And I'm making it. So you are the CEO and founder of Motorphilia,
Yeah.
and basically you specialize in online car sales.
Yeah, I always find the word CEO kind of pretentious, but I mean that's technically what I am, I guess.
Yeah,
Um, there's people who like start up like their like Sensi business, like I'm a CEO. I'm like, well, no.
yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I started this up in theory back in 2000. And then in practical application in 2007. It took there's actually a lot of laws that had to be written to do what I do. And we actually had to get those passed in 2007 and started the actual world's first true online car dealership. So, well, not
That's
the world, United States.
that's insane too. Like, so how did you get into before you got into car sales? Like, tell me your background. I know you are a Baylor graduate, and tell me how you got into the basically the car business.
Law school, actually. I was going to UT Law, theoretically. I forgot to apply for financial aid. I was dumb. I did not understand the concept of student loans. I don't know why I didn't even think about it. I probably just my heart wasn't really in it,
Yeah,
honestly. I was going to law school because it was the thing to do, I guess, but it wasn't the thing I really wanted to do. And I took a signing position with a Dodge dealership in Austin, Texas, and it was god awful. I could not fathom a place more miserable than a Dodge dealership. In fact, I don't ever want to go into a Dodge dealership in my life.
oh man.
So I did that. They gave me a signing bonus of $2,000. I needed the money to pay rent. Did that. It was honestly some of the longest, most tedious work I ever did for 3 months. I hated it. I really didn't like it. But what I hated more was the indirectness and lack of transparency that I saw in the car business. Um, I come from a background of like, your words mean words.
Right.
What do you mean by that? Like that whole like, what do you mean by that? That implied layering of meaning behind things is not what I do well. I'm very much like this is an egg, this is an apple, this is $500. Um, and I think people find comfort in that. Because that's the way our brains work.
Yeah.
And car dealerships work in a mindset of kind of like we're gonna kind of tussle you around and make you really comfortable with a terrible thing, and then sell you something that's a little less terrible.
Yeah.
So it's more like there's this weird kind of battering of your boundaries that car dealerships walk you into, and I think that model's dying off. But it's funny, as I was talking to a client today about an F-150 that he was buying at a Ford dealer in Dallas, and they're advertising this Ford for $45,000, but in order to get the price, you had to get this special package and you had to get the bed liner. And by the end of it all, you're spending $55,000 for a $45,000 car. Well, that's not $45,000.
No.
No. And then you have to buy, then they're like, well, then you have to use our finance rate if you want this deal. So they're making like $3,000 extra on the back end. I'm like, well, this is a little trickery. I mean, you don't need to do that. I think that people just want to be treated. Actually, I think some people love being lied to. They just do. They just need it. I think there are people on this planet, they love being lied to, and then they need to be angry at somebody, and they exist. And for those people, I think that buying process is perfect for them.
Well, I mean,
Um,
it's funny because you said that because the car industry's been like dealers have been that way forever. That old school sales mentality has been in place for the past 50 years. And it's like everyone dreads going to a car lot and running from a sales guy walking out there. You know what I
well,
mean?
it's because they think you're an idiot, and in
Yeah.
fact, they create this dynamic that makes you stupid. Because I mean, I talk to people who are phenomenally intelligent people,
Mhm.
and there's these little mind games being played that are seriously, it's a practice of misdirection. Um, they'll put together this four square diagram and say, well, here's the price of the car, here's your trade in, here's the payment, and I forgot what this other one is over here. We're going to focus on this part of the square. don't you worry about this price over here. Price doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What do you want to pay? What do you want to pay monthly?
What's your monthly payment going to be? Well, I don't know. No, honestly, I pay cash. I'm good. No, what's your payment going to be?
Yeah.
One payment, thank you. And so, and then like, if the payment doesn't matter, then does it matter what the price of the car is? Yes, it does. They are actually directly related. There's all these like things I was told to say, and I was like, I don't want to believe people are this stupid, and but the fact is that I think that people just don't know any better. People don't understand. Like honestly, the structuring of a simple interest loan is a little baffling. I think this is also, not to get political, but I do think that we should learn these things in high school. I think you should know how to,
I agree.
Understanding compound and simple interest is a really good thing. Understanding how, how these things work and how credit works. And those are not bad ideas. Those are things we could have known in high school. I learned that it took me 15 years out of high school to figure that out.
Yeah, I mean, you look at 80% of your, the economy, people that are going out of high school into college or whatever, immediately into student debt, not understanding what they're getting into, having to deal with that for the next 20 years. It's a whole, it's a whole big deal.
Oh gosh, I remember when I first got into, because I was such an idiot. This is why I think it's funny when like talking to parents about they'll say, well, so and so wants this kind of car, and I'm like, so and so is 16, they're a moron.
Yeah.
I was like, you need to take the reins and tell them how things are going to be. I wish my parents did that. On a certain point, I think you should not be trusted with your own brain until you're like 24.
I completely agree, man.
Like you really I think we really set the bar too low on adulthood. Like I don't. Someone's 21. I'm like, you're not. I mean, I get it. You say you are, but you're not.
Yeah.
You don't. But I remember in high school, got into college, and like first thing I got an American Express with an unlimited, no limit to it. I bought a trip to Vail. I bought skis. I bought all this stuff. I spent like $15,000 the first month of having this card. I had no money. Why did they give me that? And I didn't know how to pay that back. I was like, well, I'll be, I'm going to be like making $1 million a year, I guess, running Exxon or something, because, it's that easy. It was such a putz. I remember my first application out of college was to take over an ad agency to be their president. That was, I wrote them a long letter about why I need to come in and take over their agency. Like the audacity that I had is staggering. And I should have just nut punched myself. If I go back into time, I will slap myself. I will.
Well, it's funny what you've been doing. Like, so we've been connected the past few years, and just watching your transparency with people on how to look for good deals. That's what I love about what your approach is. And not only it's your business, but you're not trying to sell to people. You're like, hey, look out for these things. Let me just give you some valuable information. And I know that works hand in hand with people actually coming to you to transact, and also you're working with people all over the United States too, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have people buy from me from all over, but I mean, I think the product that I'm trying to sell more than anything else is just tremendous credibility.
Yeah.
I take it upon myself to really learn what is going on. It's important to know why this is the case. I don't believe in superstition. If a car makes a certain noise, I want to know why it makes that noise. It just happens on Thursdays. I couldn't tell you why. It's like, well, no, I need to know why. I seriously spent 2 days trying to figure out why Alexis is making a little squeak. Finding out that it was an improperly installed parking brake, and we needed there was a little C clamp that was missing, but that little C clamp was making a kink, 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 kink noise. And we couldn't figure it out. And it seriously took 2 days to find this little itty bitty thing. But that's something that drives someone crazy. And a lot of people overlook those things, and I don't like it. I don't like to believe that cars are mysterious unicorns that just up and do crazy things. They are predictable. They are clocks that burn stuff. Yeah. I think credibility is an important thing. And it's also probably got me in trouble, because I think that if you're going to be straightforward with people and you're going to be honest with people, that means that you're going to be straightforward and honest with them.
Yeah, some people don't like that. Some people don't like to hear the truth. They get really upset about it, and it's like, man, I'm
No,
just trying to help you.
if you want to hear nice stuff, please go talk to somebody else.
Yeah,
I mean, I care about everybody, I really do, but I think the most important thing to do is to give people honesty, because you know what's so funny is you're going to spend you'll spend 3-4 weeks if you're on a car process figuring out that, like, honestly your expectations are not meeting reality, or you can just talk to somebody and go, look, I've been doing this for like 2 decades, it's not going to work. And and there's that weird, like, I think motif of like you coming from the outside and like you've got a new vision and you can see past all how things work, and you can really break the whole system. It's like, this is a $35 billion a year industry. It is very systematic. It is. And people put a lot of time and resources into getting this stuff right, and you getting on Car Gurus does not make you understand how the market's working.
that's another thing I love that you always bring up is like the Carfax stuff, or the Car Gurus, the people that or the NADA and the Kelly Blue Book, and people going off those values and not looking at the market. Like, I think you're really well versed in explaining that to people, because people need to know about that. And I'm a car nerd when it comes to, like, I love the flip game. I'm always buying and flipping stuff. I've been doing that since I was right out of high school.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll buy something, work on it a little bit. If I can make 2 or 3 grand on it, cool. But I've never, I don't have the vast knowledge of all these types of, makes and models. But I mean, that's something that I really think is important, that everything that you're putting out there as far as values is actually accurate.
Well, it's as accurate as I think it can be, because the problem is, like, there are times when we walk into market upheavals. Like right now, we're dealing with a market upheaval. Things don't make sense, and to pretend that they do make sense is foolishness, because right now everybody on my market is wrong. I'm wrong. Everybody's wrong. Predicting car values is like predicting Bitcoin 3 weeks from now.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, if you can predict Bitcoin 3 weeks from now, great. If you can do it 10 hours from now, amazing.
Yeah, or Doge is going to go to $1 tomorrow. You know what I mean?
I don't even know how to buy that stuff. I was like, I should buy. I'm going to buy I'll buy $1,000 of that. Sure. Yeah. Whatever. I mean, what if it loses $1,000? Then I lost $1,000. Okay, who cares? But like, I mean, that's not a big deal. But like, I don't like but yeah, there's just things I don't. We're dealing with this weird thing because of the pandemic has deeply impacted so many supply chains, and we're running into more and more problems. As I was telling you, you anticipate shortages in rubber and spikes in tire prices. It's going to happen. We've got shortages of vehicles. We knew about this happening. We knew this was going to happen. I knew the market was going to spike, and I was telling people this over and over. And I remember about this time last year, I was like,
talked about it a
year ago. If you want to buy a car, you do it right now.
Yes. Yeah.
Do it right now. Do this. And they're like, oh, no, the economy is going to collapse. It's going to get worse. I'm like, no, man. That's not what's going to happen.
I remember you specifically talking about F-250 value or something like that. It was a 3/4 ton vehicle, and you were like, right now it's this, X months ago it was this, and you plan on it being 20 or 30% more in a year or two.
It's going to be bad. And what I can do is I can tell you with some pretty strong accuracy by tracking markets where things are going to go to, but it's really hard to tell you. It's weird. It's easier to look out and see where things are going to be in the big picture than to say, well, I don't know what micro movements are going to. I don't know how they're going to swing. I can tell you over this period of time, over the course of a year, this is where it's going to look. Yeah. But like, when is this really going to happen? I don't know. We're basically frogs in the water, and I know that it's going to be boiling soon, and I know that it's cranking up. I just don't know when we're going to get to that point where we're really going to feel it.
It's funny to me because right now, like, this excites me. Like the we had the whole snowpocalypse, and then everyone's out buying full drives, and then the truck prices, new dealers not being able to have new inventory, so they're shopping used inventory from private parties. Like, this stuff is exciting because I feel like it's unpredictable. But what's most exciting about what we're dealing with right now to you?
Nothing. There's nothing exciting about this. This is terrible. Like, you need cars to depreciate so that people who don't have a lot of money can afford them.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. If they don't have a lot of money, they're going to be walking into notes they can't afford, which means that the banks are going to be stressed to write bad paper, which means that we're walking into a subprime apocalypse really soon. This happened. You remember this happened in real estate.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the bubble burst, and that's what we're dealing with now. We have almost a solid year of 0% interest, or even longer now at this point for new
No, I don't
cars.
have 0% interest, but like rates are really low.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people borrowing, and there's a lot of people borrowing cars that really they shouldn't be buying.
What? But isn't that always the case? What's that dealer you mentioned earlier that does that a lot?
Oh, what are you talking about?
Dodge.
Well, I mean, I think that CarMax and Carvana are working in tandem and they are responsible right now for probably 20% of the car sales out there. So 1 out of the 5 cars sold are probably between those two. That's a major impact. That's enough to drive up the market, and they're buying a lot of stuff, and people have to compete with them. I have to compete with them. I mean, there's ways to work around them, and there's definitely ways to beat their system. There are absolute ways to steal cars.
Yeah.
But the hard part is educating people on the methodology of doing that, because everybody wants the untarnished, perfect looking baby gem. And that's the one that everyone's gonna look at. And it's amazing how you can go where no one's looking, and you will find something there. There is a way to kind of to hack the system, and that does, and that's one of the skills I've developed over the past 20 years. Is kind of like going, I get that you like this one over here. Mm-hmm. Let's get this one. You're like, well, but it has a spare wheel on it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we can go buy a wheel.
Yeah.
Not hard to do.
It has Apple CarPlay. This has Apple CarPlay. This doesn't.
No, not even like that. It's just like the seats are dirty over here. This one has bad picture.
Oh, okay. So
simple stuff like this one photograph long, or like we have 2 cars identical, and an inspector noted something that honestly is highly arbitrary and made it more serious than it really is. That's a common thing. Sometimes they don't catch it, but I don't know. There's ways to do it. And so if people trust us to kind of play the system, how you can take advantage of, you can always take advantage of people's superstitions.
Yeah.
I mean, any place where superstition exists, you have a great pool of people to take advantage of.
What would you say is the most BS belief on a specific make or model of vehicle that you've heard over the years that you completely disagree with?
Subaru is a good car.
Okay.
Subarus are okay, but I think a lot of people get very excited about marketing. I mean, there's no car company that talks about the reliability more than Subaru.
Yeah.
It's kind of like talking to a person who talks about how little they like to murder people. Like, I don't murder people ever. You know me, not a murderer. No. Yeah, no. 9 out of 10 people agree. I'm not a murderer.
What would you think? Okay, on the advert of that, what's probably the most underrated?
Mercedes Benz is underrated.
Okay, in what aspect?
They make a good car. They make a really good car. And then they also make terrible cars. I mean, not everything they do is good, but they have some good stuff out there. They have a tremendous V6, really one of the best on the planet. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff out there. Ford, some are mixed bag. Dodge makes the Cummins is a phenomenal motor. I mean, Jesus. I mean, people swear by them, and it deserves it. The Hemis, Depends how much you like valves.
Yep.
If you like valve jobs, you're going to love a Hemi. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that in general, most cars are pretty good. I think Kia. I really don't trust Kias and Hondas. I don't. I see, the thing is, it's kind of like, I see what I'm doing. I see all the mistakes people are trying to get out of all the time. When you're at the auction, a lot of people are trying to get out of stuff because they're having problems. They're trying to, this is an escape mechanism. Sometimes it's not. I mean, I wholesale a lot at auction because it's easy. It is. And it can be profitable, but it's a good way to turn metal into cash real fast. So there's a lot of people like me doing that. I'm not really trying to pull one over on anybody, but if I have a piece of junk, I'm sending it to the auction also.
Are you just doing if you're wholesaling stuff, what are you saying, 5 to 10% instead of getting 30?
Nearly 100% of what I take on trade is going to wholesale.
Okay.
I mean,
you don't know what unless it's something extremely low miles. I mean, is it something to where you just don't want to mess with it?
No, I don't want to sit on it. I don't want to sit on anything. I have my business model is high turn rate.
That's what I
I
like
want
about
it.
that.
I want it gone. I want
Yeah.
everything gone.
Well,
I don't want to see it. Go away.
so you're researching things and picking them out based on what you know is working, selling good, and what's reliable, and then the trade you take in, if it doesn't fit that mold, you just send it on.
Or even if it does fit that mold, I'll get rid of it.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not allowed to have an emotional connection to things.
Dude, that is the most holy shit. That's the best thing. We're probably going to talk about this whole time because when it comes to something like a vehicle or stocks or anything else, you can't get emotional about it. It's a transaction.
I mean, there are cars that I am emotional about, and I do keep them.
Right, but
But
that's for you. That's not for, making money, correct?
no, I don't
Right.
want to make money. On them.
But you're a
But yeah,
Toyota
I mean,
guy too, right?
well, it's just the methodology that I work with when it comes to vehicles is that going forward is not going backwards. Real simple idiom. I want to I imagine you have 5 spots. I mentioned this in my video on my website, but everything you do is real estate management. If you can have 5 spots, and each one of those spots is making $300 a day by turning cars, $3 a day on 5 spots. That's much better than a lot of a bunch of cars that make $1,500 a day every week, or $15 once a week. And so if you keep turning them over and over and over, you don't need a lot of space. So the reason why we're efficient is we keep a really small profile, is that we don't need a lot of room. Things come in, they're going out, they're going in, they're coming out, they're coming in. We're shuffling stuff, and this is it. It comes in, shuffles, get ready, goes out. And we have a processing process where cars are coming in, they're being inspected, they're being made ready, and we're going testing everything out, and then bam, it's out again. When it's a trade, same thing. Process goes into a wholesale system. It gets out of here. But we need this much space to operate. I don't need an acre. I need this much. This one comes in, that one goes out. And I like that methodology because it allows you to be very dynamic to the market trends, allows you actually to put more into a vehicle because anyways. So you're talking about like how we research stuff and sell stuff. Again, I know the market trends. I can see where they're going to go. I know where wholesale is going to be, and there is kind of understanding like if it goes, it's going to be in this area, and we send it and we sell it and it moves forward and we go, and that's it. When people buy cars from us, it's the same thing. Here's their market trend is going to be. Here's what it costs to do all the stuff that needs to be done to it, and here you go. Here's your car.
Yeah. Well, what would be the number one thing you would tell anyone that listening or watching, because I have a wide variety, but everyone needs a vehicle, almost everyone. What would be a word of advice that kind of covers like what everyone needs to know? Something you may tell people every day that you get tired of telling people.
Well, there's two things. You can't really you can't summarize things into like little tidbit sound bites and say that's going to be the way it is.
Right.
I think simple solutions to complex things are usually wrong, and it isn't simple. Buying a car isn't simple. There's 32,000 moving parts in a car. I think the best advice, honestly, is to understand that you probably don't know very much, and don't let your don't let your confidence betray you. I mean, even what I'm doing, like it's funny is I've been doing this 20 years, and I'm talking about cars. I'm like, I'm not. You're going to find that I have a lot of second guessing on stuff. I'm like, well, because I don't know everything. I know when things are wrong. I know when they're wrong, but that doesn't mean I know when they're right either.
Well, and I mean, it's funny too because if you look at people like, oh, Dodge is a piece of shit, but Ford's great. Like that. There's those things too. But it's, and then you have people that are they're not educated and they're just going off of what someone says. That's why they're buying a vehicle.
Well, I think Steve Jobs said it best: is that people don't know what they want; they want what they know. Yeah. And that's with cars. Is we understand what we know, we don't understand what we don't know, and I fall into that category. I mean, I just try to know a lot. But I mean, if I don't know something very well, I'm going to not have a lot of confidence with it, and I'll be very open with people. Like if there's, if you were to ask me, hey, what are common problems of a modern Porsche 911 Turbo? I'll be like, my friend, I haven't actually played with a 911 Turbo in like 10 years. I don't know. I really don't know. I couldn't tell you the nuances of what we're getting into on this. This is going to be a learning experience for both of us.
You're also, well, don't you also, you do some restoration too, don't you? Are you still doing some of that? I know we talked about it
Oh,
years
I
ago.
love restorations. Yeah, I love getting a restoration of things. Everything. I mean, I love getting into fixing everything on a car. Not, by the way, I don't. I can do it. I don't do it personally. I have people that we have
Right,
teams. They
right.
do that. I am more of more an orchestration element. A contractor.
Yeah.
I've got people who do all the right stuff, and my job is to then package it all together and go, there you go. So, but yeah, I mean, I think that if it depends on what you're looking at, but I have good 3 rules of market values, and they are very, very, very accurate. If a vehicle is under market value, a person is either lying, hiding something from you, or they're an idiot.
It usually is the first two, right?
It's probably a combination of a lot of those. Most people aren't really that dumb. They
Right.
aren't. But you know what? I'm dumb. Like there's times like I seriously I will price a car under market value because I'm not I'm looking at old market data.
Okay.
I sold a Tundra at auction today. I was willing to sell it for a specific amount. And if somebody came to me before the auction and said, we'll give you that much, I'd be like, oh, that's fine. I let it go to auction. Had I not just let it go its course, and I believe in letting it go its course, I would have sold that car for probably $3,000 to $4,000 less than I could have just selling it at auction. But I mean, that's because this is a volatile market right now with trucks. So I'm not good with telling you where a truck's going to be valued at. I'm not good. And I think anybody who really has been doing this a while at this point kind of feels confused.
Well, so, and you've kind of been a pioneer for the internet auto industry, like we spoke about at first. Can you tell me the transitional, like, just a real quick synopsis of the transition between, like, you were doing so much on eBay. Did you dabble into Craigslist when that become popular? And then Facebook. Where you at on Facebook Marketplace at this point?
I hate it.
I know, dude. God.
Yeah, I mean, is this available?
Yeah, yeah.
And then
and here's another thing: you can tell when there's a scam almost immediately. But these people, they get people, man, left and right. They get people.
It's all scams. I see. I'm in all these forums. I see all the ads all the time, and it's also always somebody just downplaying something very serious. It's so common. Like, well, it has an engine light on, but everything else is perfect. They're like, yeah, well, let's talk a little more about that little thing you just skipped right over. It's like going on a first date, and it's like, oh yeah, no, you come visit my place if you don't mind the smell of dead bodies. It's a fantastic place. And you're like, wait, hold on. You mentioned something back there. Yeah, you're visiting somebody, and it's one of those things. Like it's like they just kind of like glance over. It's like, oh well, yeah, it's just a minor repair. It's just a head gasket.
Yeah.
And
needs transmission work. It's not. It runs.
Transmission's still slipping a little bit. Not a big deal. It's running fine. It was running when I parked it.
My favorite is it just needs an O2 sensor. Oh my God, dude.
And then
what's making that O2 sensor go off? Like, what's
my bad catalytic converter, mass airflow sensor, and a bunch of others. It's weird. It's like this trifecta of things that all go bad at one time. But but I mean, like, those things aren't that big of a deal. I don't mind O2 sensors. I don't mind catalytic converters. I don't mind. I mean, it depends on the car. But like I said, whenever I read these things, there's always something kind of sketchy. I see a lot of stuff where it's like it's obviously severe frame damage we're talking about, or I don't know. But I don't like Marketplace. I don't like car gurus. I'm very openly anti-car guru. I think car gurus. See, the reason why I don't like car gurus is that it's using a format to give people a false understanding of how good or bad a deal is.
Yeah.
Cheaper doesn't mean it's a better deal. Cheaper means cheaper. Motel 6 is not a better deal than Waldorf Astoria. Okay? It isn't. So, just because it's cheaper doesn't mean it's better. A cardboard box is not anyway. So like, it's a weird thing, but like, I'll like Dallas is a really big cesspool of sketchy vehicles.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you'll see me talk about is, and I'll do it all the time, is I'll pull cars from California specifically, and go, and these cars that are just destroyed, and like, there's a clean Carfax. Here's another one destroyed.
Yeah.
Here's a clean Carfax. Here's another one destroyed. Here's a clean Carfax. And I swear, you take that VIN number, just go ahead and put it aside, and then a month later, look that VIN number up. Look it up on Google or whatever. You're going to see it on Car Gurus, and it's going to be a car at one of these like auto value sites or something like that, some warehouse somewhere, and they're like, oh yeah, I just had a fender repair, not a big deal. No, just like, oh, it's really bad. And some cars, some cars are really forgiving. Like pickup trucks, honestly, you can beat the crap out of a pickup truck and you can get away with a lot, and they're going to be okay. But like a BMW, wiring harness damage on a BMW is not a joke. It's a big deal. And I've seen people go, oh well, I got a buddy who can.
All right, got you back.
That's okay. But like the thing with cars is they're surrounded by data lines. So like there's fiber optics in them. But like if you go take a set of scissors, you cut your USB cable, try to reconnect that to your computer and see what happens.
Yeah.
It doesn't work out very well. Just those moderate interference differences in the electrical pulses render it useless. So repairing of data lines is tremendously difficult, and I don't know if it can be done. If it can be done, it's not by anybody, and it's not going to be some wiring guy in East Texas who does it.
No, it's not going to happen.
No, it's not a stereo. They're not going to do that.
Yeah.
So you usually have to replace these whole harnesses, and that's what like a lot of these cars have electric control elements to them. So like a good example was we had this gal many years ago. We found her this absolute screaming bargain on a fully loaded Ford Edge. Not a huge fan of the Ford Edge, but it was a screaming deal on the Ford Edge. Sorry, someone's coming in. And it had an airbag light on, and this was a Car Guru's car. And the guy said, and she asked me, said, "Hey, can you go over and take a look at?" By the way, I never look at people's cars reviews. I was really just curious. I was like, "Why is this thing so cheap?"
Yeah.
Like this car had a book value at the time of $31,000. And hey, Amanda. Say what? Okay. Anyways, this thing was going for like 18 and a half, and it should be 31,000. Clean Carfax, no accident on the history. Why is it so cheap? And they have the thing, has an airbag light on, but that's under warranty. Okay, then why did you fix it? Okay, it's a simple question. Why didn't you? So I go and I look at it, and I buy through the auction. And the nice thing about auctions I like is we have these rules. And in this case, I noticed when they did all the paperwork for the auction stuff, they made a mistake. And I knew I was going to take advantage of that later. Is they said that it was a 4-cylinder engine, and this was a 6-cylinder engine. And in auctions, if you do that, you actually void the sale because you misrepresent the car.
Okay.
So I went ahead and took the car knowing that they made a mistake and knowing that I had absolute full recourse on it. So I took it over to the Ford dealer, looked over, and it was one of those things. Someone spliced the wiring in it. It was in an accident. They did a kind of a Mexican body shop repair somewhere. They spliced the wiring, but they couldn't turn the airbag light off. And you had to completely remove the whole wiring harness on this Ford Edge, and it was about $10,000 to do. And it's actually cheap for some wiring harnesses, honestly. Yeah. So it was a full body wiring harness. Everything has to be disassembled and put back in. And I was like, all right, we're taking it back. Here's the reason why it's so cheap. Even if we did all that stuff to it, it doesn't guarantee that it would be a problem-free car from that point forward.
Yeah, so, it's great you're mentioning all these things because people just have no idea about this world and what you're going into, and they're just always looking at price and have no idea what goes into all of that and why the market is what it is and why this vehicle is worth this, more than this other one. What would be your all-time favorite vehicle? What is it? If we had to wrap it up into let's say this. Okay, favorite import, favorite domestic, and then favorite all-time.
Man, that's hard to say. My favorite car that I ever owned was my Hummer H1.
Okay.
I had a Hummer H1. I bought in 2009. I bought an 06 Hummer H1, last generation Hummer H1 for civilian use. I loved it. I loved it. I seriously loved it. That car was so cool, and I was an idiot with it. And absolutely, can you give me 1 second, man? I'm sorry. Hello, it's Aaron. All right, it's a carrier. We bought some BMW this morning. You out of here?
No, I need the Avalon key.
Denise knows. Oh, there's an additional. Look for the triangle Toyota key in the safe. There should be a Toyota key. There's a little triangle-y looking one that's not crappy looking, and that's the backup key for the Avalon.
You're like me, bro, all over the place. I understand. I know how it goes.
I'm trying to block this out, but honestly, like,
you're good.
You know, my phone is usually off the ringer or off the hook all the time.
Yep.
And seriously, I'm having to get back to people like crazy. The amount of community, at the end of the day, like the amount of people I talk to is insane.
I completely understand. I know where you're coming from on that. Yeah, I don't want to hold you up too much. On the Hummer, that had to be, what was the engine in that?
It was that was a Duramax, actually.
Okay, yeah, okay, hell yeah.
The version before that was, what was neat was it was a Duramax with an Allison transmission. So I mean, it was a Chevy, basically a Chevy 1-ton, but the ones before that were Detroit diesels, and they used the 4L80E transmission from Chevy. Really, really tender. 4L80E transmission is just a trash dump of an engine.
Yeah,
you know, it's that temporary Chevy transmission that blows on everybody's truck. It's that on the Hummer.
Yeah.
So
hell no.
Yeah. But that's my favorite car to drive is the 911. I love the 911. I love it very much. I love it a lot. I love the Hummer because just it can go over anything. It's amazing. It really is, and it rides it's such a nimble vehicle for what it is. And I mean, Jesus, it has a presence to it, you know?
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
That car ages well. You see a Hummer, you have to stop and go, damn.
Yeah.
The car that I'll tell you, the car that impressed me the least was the Lamborghini Gallardo. I had a Lamborghini for a little bit, and honestly, I just felt like I was driving an Audi, a really nice Audi. Yeah, and I don't like Audi very much. I liked the 911. 911 is probably the most perfect car ever made. If you get into a 911, I don't care what year it is. It could be a 60. It could be a 69, or it could be a 2021. It's a car that communicates with you. It's neat. I love it. So that's probably my favorite car.
Okay. I mean, that's a good choice. I've never driven one of those. I had a Cayenne for a short while. I enjoyed it, but I haven't been in a 911.
Yeah, the Cayenne is a very heavy feeling car.
Yeah, it was heavy.
The Porsche 928 and the Cayenne share feel very similar. I had a 928 in college for a little bit, and that was fun, but it was not. It was. I mean, a Camaro is equally as fun, honestly.
Yeah. How do you feel about the mid-engine Corvette now?
I like it very much.
Have you driven one yet?
No.
Man, they look. I mean, I like what they're doing with it.
I have a strong understanding of what it's going to drive like.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a Ferrari F430 for a while, and I'm sure it's very, very comparable to that.
Okay.
I think the thing is that I've become very dulled to the sense of awe on a lot of cars that people get excited about. Lamborghinis are really common cars for me. I see them every day. Ferraris are really common cars for me. But I'll tell you, man, even as common as they are, the one that never, ever disappoints me is 911. 911, they don't hurt you like other cars do. Like a Ferrari doesn't really want, it's a car that doesn't want to be driven.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like it does amazing stuff. And they talk about all the track stuff, but they don't talk about like how it will all break. The whole thing breaks. 911, you could beat it. You could piss on it. You could take a dump in the front seat. It doesn't care. It loves you more. It's like a German S&M like vehicle. Like it's like, hit me harder.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it hits me harder. And it's like, but I don't want to do it. You know, it's weird, but like that car wants you to beat the crap out of it.
Yeah.
Awesome. I like that. I like trucks. They're good. I like everything, honestly. I like the Prius. I think that's kind of I think it's boring and hideous, but I like it because if you're going to go somewhere, I mean, it's kind of neat that like it costs, 5 cents a mile to drive.
Where you at on Tesla?
I like it very much. I don't like it for Texas. I like it very much, though. It's like with an asterisk. I like it in particular scenarios. Like, it's like, it's like, it's kind of like, it's good in a specific situation. Like, how do you feel about chocolate cake?
Yeah, got it.
I mean, as a daily diet, I mean, probably horrible, but honestly, I like it very much.
Yeah.
Tesla is really good if you live in a metropolitan area that has infrastructure that is designed for EV use.
Agreed.
If you really believe that you're going to go cross country in a Tesla, you're going to find a very stressful and nearly impossible trip to make. And if you made it, it's something you can brag about, and that doesn't mean it was good. You can you can brag about surviving being hit by a truck.
Yeah.
I just don't recommend it.
Well, I mean, that's a good point, because I mean, if you're taking Tesla cross country, you have to have one route. You're going to have one route. You can't go your own way.
Look, you're
not
not
there yet.
You're not going to be able to drive to Durango in a Tesla.
Yeah.
They can't. You can't. There's literally there's a center of road that is 400 miles. There's nothing there, and you can't charge anywhere.
Yep.
So what you're going to have to do is you have to take your little itty bitty Tesla portable charger, plug it in someone's wall, and you have to wait for like 2 days to get enough range to then keep going. And that just sounds like a terrible idea. Or you can just put some gas in your tank and go for it. So my favorite EV right now is actually the BMW i3. I think it's the best EV out there because they have a little gas motor that backs you up, and it's a great deal. You can buy an i3 for under 20 grand, a good one. And it's carbon fiber, and it's mid-engine, and it's rear-wheel drive. Is that badass?
It's crazy, dude. Yeah.
That's
I've only
cool.
seen one around here. I'm in Shreveport Bossier, but I'm sure you have more over there where you're at.
Not that many. This is East Texas, man.
Yeah, well, you're right on the edge.
Of their i3s.
No, you see the 328s, right? A lot of those.
328?
Yeah.
Oh, those are fine. No, but no, the BMW i3 it's an oddly unattractive car that's beautiful for looking odd.
Yeah.
And I like it. I was very impressed with the BMW i8. I had one of those for a little bit, and that was, oh my God, that was a good motor. It was a good car. It's not as impressive as some other supercars, but I like where they're going with the BMW's kind of like mixture, hybrid-y, EV type vehicles. I think that's very smart. Tesla, I think, is too much of a commitment to a future that's not yet here.
Yeah, that's the next question I was going to ask you is, I mean, everyone's saying we're looking at like 10 years before we're full EV. Do you think it's longer than that? Or do you think we're
realistic? 10 years is a realistic transit. I mean, the average person in the United States owns a car for 30 months. They do. Okay. So more than likely, you're going to have about 17 million people buying a car every year. So you're looking at things cycling out. So you're probably at this point where there's about 1 million EVs sold. That's, 1 out of 17 people buying an EV type vehicle or extreme hybrid vehicle.
Right.
Can we, when you get to a point where that's, not like 5 or 6 or 7%, maybe a point where that's like 15 to 20% of your buying audience, we're not far from that. That's going to be probably in the next 10 years. You're going to see enough where that's enough of a wake to make significant changes.
Yeah.
Back, I don't know if you know this, but back in the 1980s, not many people bought trucks.
No, well, I mean, that makes sense thinking about it, but no, I didn't know that. Just if you look back at pictures and, things and advertising and movies, I mean, you don't see a lot of trucks.
No, it was very, you bought a truck because you lived on land back in those days, or you were a contractor. You don't buy a truck because you have a soccer match to get to.
Yeah.
You bought a wagon. Things have changed, and so that's 1980s is what, that's 40 odd years ago. EVs kind of got on the market in the early 2000s. They've been progressing. They've made significant shifts by 2010. We're now in almost every auto manufacturer now offers a strong EV option, that it is not just like kind of like this weird like token EV, but it's actually like, Porsche has an EV that's very very notable. Audi does. Toyota, they have the Prime setup, which is pretty close to a strong EV setup. I mean, everybody's kind of got something going in there right now, and it's probably gonna happen. I think I think one of the big things they're trying to sort out was, are we going to do hydrogen fuel cell, or are we just going to do straight out EV? And I think we've answered that. It's going to go EV. What's funny is there was a debate, heavy debate, in between 2006 2009 between diesel and hybrid. That was a big debate, and I told everybody it's going to go hybrid, and here's the reason why. And I think that's where it's going to go. I think so long as you can make something very, very convenient, and you can make it very reliable and very cheap, people are going to buy it. And hybrid and EVs are getting there. Tesla's going to be putting out a $25,000 Tesla in the near future.
Yeah.
And people are going to buy it. In fact, it's going to be incredibly popular. So yeah, I think we're 10 years out is very realistic.
Well, I don't want to hold you up too much. I know you got to go. I think we need to do this again on a live feed where we get some comments. We'll do that next time if you're down. But there's a lot more I want to talk about, but I know you got to go, dude. I appreciate it today. A lot of knowledge. I really want people to hear about the actual industry because, every single person is partaking in that. So they need to be, at least stop and educate themselves on what kind of deal they're walking into and what their options are.
I mean, like I said, I think that if there's one thought I'd leave people with is that, especially in today's market, and this is really important, is the cheapest car doesn't usually mean it's the best car. And that people should take time to also question all internet sources, because Carfax is marketing. It's not actually a litmus test. So anyways, I know where else to end there, but if we want to talk later, we can talk later. Does this sound good?
Yes, sounds good, bro. Plug motorphilia.com. How else does anyone find you? What's your website? I mean, your Instagram or anything? You at?
I think Motorphilia is a good place to go to. It's got enough information to give people about how we work, what we do. It is something very different. We're not like, hey, come here and test drive this car, see what you think, and kick the tires. We're not like that. We're not those kinds of people. But we're gonna guarantee that stuff. We're gonna make sure it's good. So, anyways, we'll talk more. Sound good?
Sounds good, bro. Everyone,
hey,